was always the quiet kid. I was never the one who would come up to people and ask them if they wanted to play. And I was never the one taking initiative in anything. I was always the quiet kid in the background. Mostly my hobbies are also pretty quiet. Like I liked reading, I liked making art, which doesn't really need you to talk. I was pretty clean back then. Like, oh, my room was always tidy. I was this innocent, quiet little kid. And to me, like, I was always in my mind trying to understand concepts of friendships, like the way people talked, the way their personality was. Like, I was just observing a lot. I was trying to understand people from afar. I was like, even like in a group, I would just look at people and try to understand them, like the way they move their hands, their mimics, their gestures, the way they laughed about things or what they laughed about, how they communicated with people, why, for example, they were the most popular in the group dynamic, and so on and so on. But I would never be the one to learn about these things to try them myself. It was more that I was just quietly trying to understand human interaction without noticing that I was trying to understand it. Eventually I realized that I did that after like getting older, but I continued staying the quiet kid, and I continued staying this, I guess you would say, lonely child without any friends. Making connections always felt really difficult, and it still is really difficult. I never grew out of this. I thought, I mean, wouldn't it be the other way around? Like you'd be able to make great connections as a child because everyone was just pretty close all the time. Like you were in kindergarten and you would meet up all day. Since your parents sent you there, you'd have no choice than see each other every day. So you were kind of like forced in a good way to make connections. And then in school, same thing. You always were the same class. I mean, it's not like that in America, but here in Germany, you have the same class until 6th grade, then you get split it, and then you have like from 5th grade on, from 5th grade on, you have the same class until 9th or 10th grade even. And that means you see the same people every day, right? You do the same things every day. You go through the same subjects, do sports together, and you form relationships and then spend time in your free time together. But for me, it wasn't like that at all. I made friends, I talked to them, but I could never really open up to them, I guess. I was really still all the time inside my head, just observing people, learning about people and the way they did things. And now that I'm older, like 28, I realize I still do that, like in a much different way now, like in a grown-up way, of course, but I still do it, and I'm still just as bad with forming human connections than I was back then. It's still really difficult to keep connections to people and to hold these connections and hold friendships and stay active in those connections, in those relationships. Because, like, yeah, friendship is nice and it is nice to talk to someone, but friendship is also putting effort into your friendship. And to me, putting in the effort was always really difficult because, one, being in my own headspace was already pretty filling. Like, the entire day would be filled with my thinking and I'd be surrounded by my own thoughts. Like, it was already pretty exhausting being in my own space all the time, and to get along with myself, to get along with my mood swings and with my personality and all of that. And I think along this way of just trying to deal with my own stuff, I never learned to make space to people around this bubble. So even though sometimes I had like the energy to form connections, if people were not willing to be no contact for a longer period of time, they would not be able to deal with me. And I understand that. I understand that people don't like having a friend that is unavailable for months. I get that not everyone wants to deal with that, and not everyone can deal with that, and that their personality might be that they get angry eventually, that sometimes I don't have the mental capacity to go out even though we've planned this a longer while ago. I cannot be mad at them for breaking contact with me. I mean, I have one or two friends that did that, that got angry at me for not answering back a lot, to cancel plans one or two times. Since these were also times where I was mentally really sick and ill, and I just couldn't move. I couldn't get myself to get up. I had like these energy boosts from time to time, so that's where I ended up with these friendships. But most of the time, like 80% of the time, I was in a really dark low. And most of the time when I cancel plans, these are the days when I feel really low. So going out would just be me being dissociative and inactive in the conversation, and it wouldn't make the relationship between my friend and me better. It would actually worsen it. I would just be a pain in the ass. I would waste her time being there drinking coffee with her outside because I just wouldn't be able to be available at that time. So I just cancel the plan. How do you want to go out when you have a depressive episode and on top of that you have anxiety about really big crowds? And on top of that, you get dissociative when you're triggered. So big crowds trigger you, walking around dissociated, and you're just not there. So what does that mean? You just waste the friend's time. So I just cancel the plans beforehand because I know I will be like that. And I think I always told her I'm so sorry about that. It's not like I really want to go, but I can't, like mentally, I cannot get into crowded places right now. But I also get that when that happens a second or a third time, that they might not want to deal with me any longer. I'm sorry, of course, to all the people that had to deal with that. I lost a few friends because of that, and some of them were really dear to me, but I just cannot force myself to be not depressed. Like, I cannot get out of a depressive episode just because I need to be somewhere. And if they don't want to deal with that or with that kind of person, I totally understand. And if they go no contact with me because of that, I also understand that. It is not their responsibility to always stay and be a good friend just because the other person is depressive, right? It might just not be your cup of tea, and I get that. And I would never think about these people badly because they have their own shit to deal with and they have their own lives. And even if I miss them in a way, I mean, I'm the type of person when I think about people, that's like, I don't really miss people. I understand that it's been a while. Even thinking about them feels like I met them or I saw them or some type of connection. So that's why missing someone is like a rare occasion for me. I just understand that they cannot deal with that and that they might have their own shit to deal with and that I'm just like another burden in their life and that they don't want that. And I get it. I'm not mad about it. I'm kind of sad that we don't meet any longer, that we have no contact at all. But I don't want to bother them more than I already did by making them mad or angry. That it might just be better going no contact, even though I really like them. I didn't realize it, but I understood after growing up that I will always be bad at making connections with people and forming long-time relationships with people, and that I guess I'm just that type of person, even though I was trying my whole life to change myself into an extrovert and being the center of a group, for example, but I never got used to it. I never liked it. I always felt kind of out of place and uncomfortable, and in my brain, in my mental space, it's just so much work without me wanting to make it such big work. Like, I want to have friendships, I want to have big friend groups and many people to be able to contact, but I'm just not built mentally for the kind of effort that I have to put into each person's friendship. And I guess that is kind of selfish because they're also putting in effort to stay in contact with me, right? But I feel like for other people, it doesn't take as much effort to socialize. It doesn't take them as much energy to socialize. It doesn't take them so much mental space, so much energy. They don't go to bed exhausted each night after going out. And I feel like people might think I am selfish about this, but I'm not really cursing at the people that didn't want to have friendships with me, right? I understand their position and where they're coming from. They don't want to be friends with someone like me because I'm difficult, right? I think people also need to understand that they might be able to keep contact with so many people, but they also have to understand that the energy that they have left at the end of the day after meeting up with so many friends is a whole kind of different one than I have when I get back home from meeting up with friends. My battery is so low, I'm basically falling into bed and falling asleep right then and there. It's not just the person I'm talking to, it's also the environment. It's also being outside and socializing and hearing all these things and being bothered by this loudness and this crowd. Also feeling the need to keep the person in front of me happy, basically. I don't want them to feel bored or annoyed by me. I don't want to waste their time. So I'm thinking a lot about what to say and what not to say and what is the right mimics that I should make and the gestures that I should make. And I'm trying to copy a socializing normal person, basically. And that takes so much energy and so much headspace. And I'm trying to focus on the way she moves her hands and focus on the way she looks at me and maybe not look at me at times. And I'm trying to mimic that. I'm trying to copy that to act like a normal person having a conversation, because it's so difficult to me to keep a conversation going. I don't know how people do it. I've been trying to understand it or to be that person that is just holding conversations just like that, basically, right? But I can't. I don't know how. And if I focus on it too much and if I put too much energy into it, I start dissociating because I get too nervous and it gets too uncomfortable, and eventually my mind will be completely blank and I will not know what to reply to the person, and eventually the whole conversation will die down. Connecting to people is difficult. It's really difficult. And I can tell every time that I talk to someone that I'm acting and acting, and that I cannot get out of this acting, that I cannot be natural because I wouldn't know who that is to begin with. I don't know how I act normally, like a normal person, when I'm talking to someone, because I always feel like I have to hold up these expectations that the conversation has to be valuable, that it has to have meaning. And me always having this in the back of my mind is keeping myself from just letting go of the stress that I'm always in. I'm always trying to put the most into the conversation as to not waste the person's time that is talking to me. I keep doing these things and they're so toxic to myself, but for the life of me, I could not turn them off because I grew up like this. Just human interaction is making life so difficult. And I'm glad that there are people who are able to deal with me enough to stay in my life. But I wish I was just more natural. I wish I wasn't this difficult kid trying to interact with people and then making life miserable for both parties. It's just, I wish I wasn't like that. I understand what is wrong and what is happening with me every time I'm trying to connect with someone, but I'm not able to change any of that because I feel like I have the allowance to look into these problems, but I'm not allowed to go as deep into my brain to correct these problems that I have, to change them. So yeah, having connections with people is difficult. Holding connections with people is even worse. Having long-term friendships is the hardest. And being a normal human being is basically not existent. So what do we do? If you have any opinions about this, put them in the comments. I will read all of that. We will see each other in another video when I keep on rambling about different things. And have a good day. Stay happy, stay healthy. Goodbye.